confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know that you love.
Janet Jackson, just because she's an icon, I just love her. Aaliyah and Missy and just so many different women who bring it to this industry. First and foremost, my connection with God. Also, the idea of being an example that anything is possible, and if you work hard and put your mind to it, you can really break boundaries. Absolutely been strong since I was a little girl, and I always inspire people to be themselves, love the skin that they're in. My mother and my grandmother, because my mom is just one of the most strong women I've ever met, and my grandmother was beautiful because she was the one who let me understand that no dream was too big. More love, less hate.
I'm confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know that you love.
So what was my first memory of me coming to the UK? I think it was like autumn leaves. It was September, it was really crisp, it was quite cold, and it's always been my favourite season because that's when I started a new life as a 4-year-old here. I set up Daughters of Eve in 2010 just in order to change the conversation around female genital mutilation. I am a survivor. I had it when I was 7, and I've always been talked at and talked about but never really engaged with. I just wanted to help shape the conversation. I didn't necessarily assume that it was going to be as massive or as such a big part of my life as it has been over the last 8 years. But ultimately, I just had this vision that I wanted us to really understand that we could all work together in order to end FGM. The women who inspire me most are actually not women. It's my niece, Sophia, who's 7, and my little cousin, Suhaila, who's just turned 10. And they're the first girls in my family not to undergo FGM. Every single time they get older without being cut is something that is really amazing for me.
I'm confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know that you love.
I knew that I'd had a lump in my boob for a very long time, and I just decided to not do anything about it because I was so young and I just didn't think anything serious could be wrong with it. So I ignored it for a while, and then I finally mentioned it to my mum and my sister, and then they said you should probably go get that checked out at the GP, and then that's when I did. So CoppaFeel is all about getting you guys to check your boobs so that breast cancers can be detected early. We believe that no one should die of this disease because it's been found late. We can avoid that by making sure that we know what's normal for us and that we know the signs and symptoms and that we have a good look and a good feel regularly. We know that people have had their breast cancer diagnosed early because of what we do. And obviously that's the biggest motivator ever. The most inspiring and I guess important woman in my life is my twin sister, Marin. And because she's been by my side obviously since the womb, she's never left my side, and we go through everything together.
I'm confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know that you love.
Times have massively changed since I was younger, and the internet, I think music, I think fashion really helped me develop my own personal style, which then my confidence just bloomed. I kind of keep myself to myself. I don't get involved in people's dramas. The reason that being is my grandmother, and she's always just said, you have to always be unapologetically yourself. I think women of all shapes and sizes, with all different curves, are much more celebrated now than they were 5 years ago when I started modelling. I think that's due to the fact that a lot more people are finding self-love in themselves, and a lot more people being vocal, and a lot more people are standing up for themselves. I would say my grandmother, she inspired me in her sense of style. My cousin, someone that's known me since birth. Make sure that every single person understood that the perfect body does not exist, and you need to aspire to be the best version of yourself and not someone else.
I'm confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know that you love.
A friend of mine at school, she asked me if I wanted to model for one of her projects. And then when my teachers were grading the work, they said, we think you should be a model. Then they actually booked an appointment with my agency, and then, that this happened. Gigi Gorgeous, she was one of the first people that spoke out about being trans and transition and everything she shared on YouTube. And I have that confidence in being herself through all these years that really helped me to become more myself. I guess the whole of my family has been super supportive. I think my mom is the person who helped me most through anything in my life. My mom was always there. She never judged me. Be nicer to each other because, you never know what someone is going through. And, it's not going to change all the issues in the world to be nice to someone, but it can really help someone and it can comfort someone.
I'm confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control.
I'm an advocate, I think, for mental health. And usually I just post on my stories what I can educate people on mental health. It's genuinely just trying to keep talking about it, keep the conversations going. I think I became like an advocate probably like 2 years ago. I've always kind of talked about my struggle. Once I was actually ready to combat it, that was when I was really reaching out to people, telling them about my story. All the time I get discriminated against because of my mental health. A lot of time in work environment, a lot of times in institutions such as university, but also a lot of times by peers. Not because they genuinely want to discriminate, but just because there is such a stigma out there.
Confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know what you love.
Maybe when I was younger, I was slightly insecure about them. So it was a case of kind of knowing that I could still be beautiful without having to cover up my freckles. Own it. Wear your freckles with absolute pride. I remember when I was younger, I was told that a face without a freckle is like a garden without a rose. Personally for me, because I'm not particularly good with makeup, I've found it very, very difficult. So I've kind of just opted to not really wear much makeup at all and just show them off. All of my family, I've got 3 sisters and obviously my mum, they've never said to cover up my freckles, and they always comment on how beautiful they are and how many I have. It can at times be hard considering that it is a male-dominated environment, but times are definitely changing, and I don't think it's about the gender anymore, it's about what's inside.
Confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know what you love.
I'm a bit of a wordsmith. I always consider myself bold, brave and beautiful, so it was probably just an extension of my own language. It really means a lot to young girls. I left a career in marketing in my 20s. I've worked with women exclusively for the past 18 years. It was my work with women that led me to work with teenage girls. It always comes back to confidence and lack of self-esteem. I kind of felt if we could get this message home earlier, then they won't be sat on my couch when they're 35 telling me they've no confidence. So it was the women that led me to the girls. Seeing the light switch on for others. For me, my life is about helping other people live their best life, and when they get that, that reflects back on me. Anybody that's been in a bad place and got themselves out of it, anybody that gets why they're here, people like Oprah. I'm inspired by women and men all the time.
Confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know what you love.
Part of my mission is to break down uneducated stereotypes, because those stereotypes, well, it's typical, isn't it? They're just not true, so. But it's not even a mission, I'm literally just being myself. The reason I set up my blog was because I was frustrated myself that I couldn't see anyone representing someone like me anywhere, so I just thought, well, I'll just do it myself then. So my book is called Modestly, and it's all about me. Basically all about me and living in a modest way, mainly with how I dress, because that's kind of just what I've done for the last 10 years on the internet. This is so cliche, but the woman who inspires me the most is my mum. She literally gave up everything to do everything she could for her kids. It's cliche, but it's mama. If I could change one other thing about the world, it would be really nothing, just what I'm already doing, really.
Confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know what you love.
The thing that first interested me in sex education, I think, was my lack of, and it was my own interest that kind of drew me to realise that I hadn't really been taught that much, and what I had been taught was quite fear-mongering. So I released a book called Doing It, and yeah, I'm used to making videos which are much shorter and me talking instead of writing, but I am a huge lover of books. I would say maybe Caitlin Moran. Like, my mum gave me her book How to Be a Woman when I was a teenager, and I read that and I was like, oh my goodness, this person is like putting all of my thoughts into words. I would just want to see LGBTQ plus rights everywhere, in every country.
Confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know what you love.
Growing up, I definitely felt different because my mum is from Zimbabwe and my dad is English. Combining both cultures was really difficult for me, but once I did it and I understood where I came from and where I'm going, then it was all good from there. I fortunately learnt to celebrate my difference when I was 11, after I cut off all my straight hair and learnt to embrace my natural hair. Staying positive is definitely really hard because I'm only human. So some days I have my really good days and some days I don't, but I allow myself to experience good or bad, and I don't put pressure on myself to always be positive and always be happy. I just focus on the good things and all the blessings. The most important woman in my life, besides my mum, is the older version of myself. So the older version of Nia just makes me excited for the future and makes me want to really plan ahead. Also enjoy the moment as well. I would change loads of things about the world. I would definitely try to get rid of poverty. The world would be such an amazing place if everyone had equality and the right to freedom, education, and yeah.
Confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know what you love.
4 years ago we were blogging individually and we all met each other just through the blogging industry, and it was actually Heidi's idea.
We all looked pretty similar because we all dressed really rainbow and colourful, and I thought it was a good idea to put us together as a pact because we all got on so well, and that's how it started. I'm a singer-songwriter.
I have a shop and I sell like festival clothes.
I run my own business called Spicy World and I do a lot of styling and photography as well.
I'm also a fashion designer. Embracing who you are, dressing however you want.
Living your life.
Yeah, living your best life.
Mums.
We just love women who are, you know, encouraging other girls and women to just be themselves.
And Little Mix.
And we love
And Little Mix, obviously. Just a better place for women and girls to grow up in. So
equal rights for women all over the globe.
Confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know what you love.
It wasn't really like a desire to share my experiences, it was really a desperation to find other people like me. I knew that there were other people out there who had faced the same challenges and had the same illness as me. I don't drink anymore, that's really helped. I try and exercise. I exercise for my mental health, not my physical health. The most helpful thing has been learning that my brain doesn't necessarily always want the best for me, and that's okay, but I just have to remind myself of that. I think there was relief, because I was really harming myself with it, but I also think it wouldn't have really mattered to me what anyone else thought. I was done with it, I was over it, and I just didn't want to carry on drinking anymore, but I couldn't stop, so I went to rehab, and I just got a year. The women who inspire me are the ones who get out of bed every day when they really don't want to. The quiet women that we don't know about, who every day are facing struggles and getting through them, those are the people that inspire me.
Confident. Ain't scared anymore. My body out of control. Baby, I know what you love.
My motivation has always been I do not want anyone else to feel like they are alone. I think body image is something that all of us deal with. So if I could turn my pain into something beautiful and something healing for other people, then that will have made it mean something. I think eating disorders are still so misunderstood. There are so many myths like they're just about wanting to be skinny or they're about attention seeking, and they're just not. They are serious mental illnesses that can affect people of all shapes and sizes, all ages, all skin colours, backgrounds. Anyone could get an eating disorder. We need to start talking about them openly and honestly and getting rid of the shame. There is no shame in any mental illness, and everyone deserves help. If I could change one thing, in particular about how women feel about themselves, I would want them to know that they are so much more than bodies. We are more than what's on the outside. We have so much more to offer than the size of our thighs.
Take off all my makeup.